Hello, welcome back to the You at Your Best podcast. I'm your host, Morgan. So, this episode is going to be a little bit different than most of my episodes. Um, I want to talk about connecting with your soul, I guess. I know that's such a weird thing to say, but I've noticed that here lately I've been really going down that road and really learning how to connect with me instead of doing things that other people say work for them. I'm more figuring out what works for me. Um, so I, the first thing I've been doing a lot here lately is self-care. I'm the type of person that gets very easily overwhelmed. So if I don't take the time to take care of myself, then I feel horrible. I feel overwhelmed. I feel overstimulated. I find myself getting irritated very easily, like with my boyfriend pointing out things that don't really matter and just kind of being a little bit controlling, honestly, because I'm so focused on everything else around me and not focusing on myself. But whenever I take the time to do self-care every day, I don't really care about what else is going on or how my boyfriend folds clothes or whatever. Like, it doesn't matter to me because it has nothing to do with me. And if I take the time to do self-care, then I'm not really focusing on other people and other things that are going on. And not only taking care or focusing on him, also just focusing on other people. And whenever I'm not doing self-care and I go around people who are more just, I just feel really overwhelmed and anxious around them. It's worse if I don't take care of myself, but whenever I take care of myself, I can go around those people and I don't feel like I have this emotional connection to them. I'm kind of distanced from them, and I have an easier time just relaxing and being myself whenever I'm around them because I'm not so overwhelmed by their emotions and the way that they're acting and their own anxieties, because I'm focusing on me. And whenever I do self-care a lot, that's the only thing that really helps me and really helps me stay in my own lane, I guess. Um, I every time I think about a problem that I have and I'm like, I don't know how to solve this, I don't know how to fix this, I realize that the only answer is always self-care. Almost always. Sometimes there are problems that have nothing to do with that, but problems with my emotions and how I feel around other people, it always comes down to self-care. And it isn't those other people's fault. I used to be really bad about, I would blame other people for how I felt. And if I felt anxious around them, then it was because their energy made me anxious and not because I wasn't taking care of myself. And they may have energy that is really overwhelming. They may be struggling themselves, but the reason why it overwhelmed me was because I was struggling too. I was struggling with my mental health. I was struggling with knowing myself, and every time I take the time to do self-care, I just feel so relaxed and so calm, and I don't really care about the rest of the world. I don't compare myself to other people as much. I just think about what I like and what I want to do. Whenever it comes down to my personal style, how I'm dressing my baby, decisions that I make as a parent, and just my everyday life in general, I don't really care as much about my apartment looking perfect or anything like that, because I am focusing on myself, and what other people think or what other people may be saying about me doesn't matter, because all I'm worried about is me. And that's such an important thing to do, and it's something that I always knew about, but I didn't really understand how to do it. Because people would say self-care, so I'd be like, okay, I'll just do things that make me feel better. So I would clean because I felt better after things were clean, but that's not self-care. Self-care is whenever you take the time to do things that make you feel good in the moment. So cleaning doesn't really make me feel good in the moment. It makes me feel good afterwards, yes, but what you need to focus on first is doing the thing that makes you feel good and helps you connect with your soul in the moment. So, like exercising, taking a bath, listening to music. Something that I really love to do is go in the car and just drive and listen to music, and it helps so much. I always feel so much more content. Or listening to a podcast, a true crime podcast, or podcasts telling funny stories, or podcasts about ghosts. I really love taking a shower and then just sitting down in the shower. I love doing face masks, doing yoga. I hate working out, but I love doing stretches and yoga, and the entire time just reminding myself to just relax. Because sometimes whenever you're doing self-care, your brain will not shut down. So you just keep on thinking and thinking, and you're trying so hard to do self-care. And for me, I keep on thinking so much about how I need to relax that I can't relax. So I kind of just remind myself, like, you don't have to force your brain to shut off completely. You can have your brain going a million miles a second and still be relaxed. Because, like, I have ADHD and my brain is never going to just be quiet. And the times that it is are very rare, and those are the times where I feel the most peaceful. But in order for me to get to that place, I can't judge myself for not being able to shut my brain down. So instead, I just let my thoughts be and just continue doing what I'm doing. Try to focus on being in the moment. Something that really helps me be in the moment is I would just look at my hand and then just like move it around and really pay attention to the movements of it. And that really helps calm me down a little bit. And even if my brain is still kind of thinking in the background, the more conscious part of my brain, I try to keep that part silent by just distracting it. Another thing I've been really doing that helps me connect with my soul is really paying attention to what makes me feel good and allowing myself to think about and talk about my desires, even if I know I can't have them in the moment. I know that I will get them no matter what it is. Some desires for me are, I really want to buy a house. I really want to go on vacation. I really want this really pretty Vivienne Westwood necklace. I want this other really pretty dress. I want a closet that resembles me more. And all of these things are things that I can't necessarily afford right now, but that doesn't mean that I can't talk about how much I want them. And you can do the same thing. I know a lot of the time, especially women, we will think about something that we want, and then instantly the satisfaction of that thing that we want goes away because we think about, like, oh, I can't do this because I can't afford it, or I can't do this because I can't, whatever. There's some reason why we can't do it, and we don't just let ourselves enjoy fantasizing about having that thing. And that's something that's so important. It is true that the more you think about something, the more it comes to you. And allowing yourself to fantasize about having something, even if you know that, even if it feels impossible to ever get it, that brings you closer to getting it. And I am a very literal thinker, so looking at it as like it just magically comes to you, that doesn't really make sense to me. But if I look at it as, if I'm constantly focusing on it, I will subconsciously find a way to get the thing that I want, because I know how much I want it and I know that I deserve it. So subconsciously, I will figure out ways to receive that thing, even if it takes longer than I would like it to. Just being patient is such an important aspect of this, but just allow yourself to think about the things that you want, because it feels so good just like making a list of everything that you desire, all of your goals, everything that you could possibly want without thinking about how you can't have it. I know I listed some before, but I think I want to list some more because I know for me, whenever I hear other people talking about their desires, it really gets my brain rolling, I guess, and I start thinking about things that I want. So I really want to get better at cooking and to be able to create a home where we are constantly being filled with foods that are good for us but also taste good. I really want to get a facial. I don't remember if I said this, but I really want to buy a house, specifically a house that is maybe like a fixer-upper, and my boyfriend and I could turn it into our dream house. I want to have another baby. I know that will be way far down the road, but that is something that I want so bad. Being a mom is so fulfilling. I want to find a really good book to read, specifically a book that's like fantasy and romance, kind of young. I love young adult books, so I really want to find a fantasy, romance, young adult book, and if it's a series, that's even better. I want to quit my job. And again, this is something that I won't be able to do for a while, but it's something that I want. I want to be able to be a stay-at-home mom. I want to do photography. I really love taking pictures, especially of babies. I take pictures of my baby all the time. Whenever my boyfriend and I have pictures done, we don't really hire someone because we can't afford that right now. So instead, we have his best friend take our pictures and then I edit them. I want to go on vacation. I want to really go deep into my soul and find what my purpose is on this planet. And so far, I feel like I have multiple purposes. I want to find other girls that I can connect with and be close with, who I really resonate with. Other autistic girls, other neurodivergent girls, other girls who just really understand me and I really understand them, and I feel safe enough to unmask around them. That's just a couple of them. I have so many desires, but I think those are the main ones right now. Another way that you can connect with your soul or your higher self, however you want to say it, is to get rid of things that don't bring you joy. So if you have a closet full of clothes that you never wear, and if you're anything like how I used to be, maybe you just keep on buying clothes just because they're cute, but they're not practical and you don't really know how to style them, go through there and get rid of all of the clothes that don't make you happy. If you don't know if it makes you happy, just hold it in your hand, close your eyes, or just stare at the piece. If it brings you joy while you're looking at it, then you know that you need to keep it. If it doesn't bring you joy, if you look at it and you feel absolutely nothing, then it's okay to get rid of it. And I know a lot of the time we feel guilty because we paid for something and we don't want to waste that money. But trust me, getting rid of the things that don't fulfill your soul and don't make you happy will, in return, bring back the things that do make you happy. And not in some magical way, but just because you will be so much happier whenever you're surrounded by only things that make you happy and you don't have a bunch of clutter, and that will make you happier and in turn motivate you to work harder on getting the things that you want. So you're not wasting money by getting rid of the things that you spent money on that you don't really resonate with anymore. I am currently living in an apartment that is very messy. My boyfriend and I have a lot of stuff. We're in a 1-bedroom apartment with a baby. And it's not nasty, it's just messy because we have so much stuff. And so that's something that I really am wanting to do, is just go through everything and get rid of what we don't need and what doesn't bring me joy or bring him joy. Decluttering your life declutters your mind so much, but also do self-care first. Take care of yourself first, because if you don't have the energy to get up and do things, it's probably because you haven't been doing self-care. And I know a lot of us neurodivergent people, we also struggle with executive dysfunction, and that definitely adds to it. But as a neurodivergent person, doing a bunch of self-care without thinking about how messy my apartment is, without thinking about how someone's coming over tomorrow, so I need to pick everything up because I don't want them to think that I'm disgusting. If I just do self-care without thinking about any of that, without caring about anyone else's opinion, I get to a place to where it is so easy for me to just pick up and go through my stuff just to see what I like and what I don't like and what brings me joy and what doesn't bring me joy. And that could take days. That could take weeks or even months of you constantly doing self-care just to get yourself in the right headspace before you focus on cleaning up or making everything look a certain way. So just remember self-care first. That's why I made that the first tip, because like I said, everything comes back to self-care. Okay, so the last tip I'm going to talk about, I've already talked about a little bit, but it's to be more present in the moment. And I know that this is something that can be so difficult, but find things for you that help you be more present. For me, that's my baby or my boyfriend. If you have people in your life that you just really love being around them and they just really bring you so much joy and so much energy, be around those people more because that will help you be more present. For me, that's my baby, my boyfriend, my mom. And make an effort to be around those people more. And also make an effort to have lots of alone time. I know some people don't really love alone time, and that's okay. Since I have ADHD and autism, I'm a very outgoing person and a very extroverted person whenever I'm comfortable. So my soul needs connection and I need to talk to people. But despite that, I still need my alone time. I need a lot of alone time or I get so overwhelmed. And that's where self-care comes in. Something that I always do to focus on really being present and really being in the moment is, like I said before, I will look at my hand and do different movements with it. I will also go to the bathroom, look in the mirror, and just look at myself and really look at every part of me. I know that this probably makes a lot of people very uncomfortable, but like looking at yourself naked and just really paying attention, really trying really hard to only focus on that. And again, if there's stuff going on in the back of your mind, that's okay. Ignore it, let it be, and just consciously focus on how your body looks. And I've noticed since I've started doing this, it also really helps me love my body more because I'm realizing that I am just human. I'm not looking at my body in a mean way. I'm not looking at my body and thinking negative thoughts. I am just looking at my body and trying not to think at all. Just looking at it and looking at my stretch marks that I have from having a baby, looking at my face and how it's not perfectly even, my stomach and how it's not flat, looking at my thighs and how they are bigger, looking at my butt and how it's pretty big, and just really focusing on the tiny details of myself that helps me be present, that helps me connect with myself and my soul or my higher self. It helps me see myself and the world in a less negative way and also a less positive way. It's more just neutral. And I've noticed over time as I've been doing that, I really am starting to love my body. Because my body is beautiful. It has done so much for me. My body carried an entire human being. My body created an entire human being. That's amazing. My body allows me to walk, to sit down and watch my baby play, to get up and move whenever I want to have such an incredible neurodivergent brain that I love so much. So just really focus on being present And I know it can be really hard, but just remember, everything else doesn't matter. If your brain in the background starts thinking about things, I know for me, I do a lot of stems, but instead of it being vocal stems, it's more like stems in my head. So my brain will repeat the same phrase over and over and over again constantly. And sometimes it gets to the point to where I'm consciously doing it, but not even noticing that I'm doing it. So whenever that's happening, I try to silence the conscious thinking and let the background thinking continue, if that makes any sense. And I don't know if that's just a neurodivergent brain thing. I don't know if neurotypical brains are like that, where there's like the background and then the conscious. But I'm sure they are like that. Like, we're all human. But that's something that I really do, is just try to be present and try to consciously focus on what's going on around me. And another thing that you can do is just look around at all of the individual items in the room. And right now, the room that I am in, it's pretty messy. We have a lot of stuff in here, but instead of looking around and stressing out and just looking at everything at once, looking at each individual item and just letting it be, just letting it exist, letting it be in this space. There's no positive or negative thing about it. It's just there. And that really helps you be present in the moment. And also, I've noticed that whenever I do that, it looks a lot less messy than it did before, whenever I was only focusing on the big picture. And you realize that sometimes your brain will put negative connotations, I don't know if that's the right word, on things that have no negative or positive to them. They just are. They just exist. And that's how we all are. That's how all of the objects that around us are. That's how we as human beings are. We just exist. We don't have to be anything else. We can just exist, and we're good enough. We're not good or bad for existing. Okay, that's all that I have for this episode. I really like this episode. I think I might start making more episodes like this. Before I restarted my podcast, I made episodes like this before, but I was always so overwhelmed because I didn't really know how to do self-care and how to relax myself. So I was just constantly trying to make episodes like this that were helpful from a place that could not give anymore, because I had already given so much and not giving to myself first. So I really want to start making more episodes like this. I think I will really enjoy that. And I want to try to start putting more episodes out there, and I want to try to start making my podcast something that I am proud of, and I don't look back and think, man, I wish that I didn't sit there and ramble about nonsense the entire episode. I want to make episodes about things that matter and giving tips, because motivational speaking is something that I feel like I'm so amazing at, but I haven't really been doing that with my podcast. And I also might delete some of my other episodes and just continue doing this. I think my first episode, I will always keep it up. The one about my birth story, because that was just such a raw and emotional episode. And I really loved that I was so open and so vulnerable in that episode. But some of my other episodes, they were just kind of all over the place, and I was just kind of rambling, which I do love about my brain. But I think for my podcast, I want it to be something that's more useful and something that I'm more proud of. So yeah, that's what I think I'm gonna do. And I'm gonna start taking care of myself first. And if that means that I miss a couple of weeks, that's okay. Because like I said before in a previous episode, progress is more important than constantly posting. And I know constantly posting is what will boost my podcast, but I don't really care about boosting my podcast. I just want to make my podcast because it makes me happy. So I still may miss weeks, maybe even months, but that's okay. I will get to a place to where I am doing self-care and taking care of myself enough to where I am able to be consistent. But for now, I am not going to be consistent until I know that my brain is relaxed and I know that I am well taken care of. And I'm just so excited. I have so many ideas. I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. I'm so excited. See you whenever I make my next episode.